Okay, I am back. It's been, I think, a full month since my last review for whatever I've been reading. Please excuse my pimple patches. I just did my skincare. I just washed my face, so but whatever. Um, yes, it's been a month. I did finally finish reading all of the issues in Bitterroot. I did reviews of each one, but because it's been so long and I'm actually trying to get back on my, not necessarily the schedule, but I want to kind of stay on par with the goals I have for myself as far as reading goes. So this review is not going to be individual for the last three. I'll kind of just do a quick recap of everything, and as well as discussing my next read, because I have started my next read just because I finished the Bitterroot series a while ago, like weeks ago. I just haven't sat down to really talk about or kind of wrap up what I started in my initial review. Um, as a reminder to myself, one of the goals I have for myself for 2026 was to read more. And then, kind of, the overarching goal or another goal I have for myself was engaging with the media that I was consuming on a deeper level. So that is including the reading that I'm doing, movies and TV that I'm watching, the podcasts I listen to, the music I listen to, just engaging with those things on a deeper level. I just noticed in 2025 I didn't read much. In 2024 I read, I think I want to say 5 to 6 books, which is not a lot, but I was proud of myself for even doing that, especially considering the next year it took me a year to get through the one book I was reading. Um, but what kind of stuck out to me was that I felt like I didn't remember the books that I read, with the exception of one, a historical text called They Were Her Property. And like I mentioned before, I think I just remembered that because of the horrific things I was reading. So it kind of stuck with me. So for this year, I wanted to just kind of sit with the things that I was consuming, and being more mindful of what I was kind of taking into, especially like in our current climate. I'm trying to be more mindful about seeking joy in the things that I watch, and not only that, but why do I enjoy those things? So these reviews, these videos are a part of that. So in this video, I'm just gonna be kind of wrapping up the last three issues of Bitterroot. Probably focusing more on issue 5 because I did reread that one in order to do this video. I probably should have reread 3, 4, and 5, just all of those, because it has literally been weeks since I read them. But luckily, because I set that goal for myself to engage differently, I did write down and take notes when I read each of those things, so I do have a better recall of what I just read. So I will go over those briefly. I want to introduce the next thing that I'll be reading. I've read this kind of partially. There's some essays and speeches in this book that I've read already, but again, because in the past I wasn't really diving deeper into the books that I was reading, I don't remember. And I don't know, maybe I should look into why my short-term memory is so shot. But I think it's TikTok. It has completely rotted my attention span, and just brain rot is crazy for me. But my next read, or what I've already started rereading, is Sisters Outsider. I'm not gonna read the entire book this time, but more so focusing on three specific essays, and that is gonna be uses of the erotic as power, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house, which I have read before, but I'm rereading now, and then Eye to Eye, Black Women, Hatred, and Anger. Those will be the three essays that I'm reading out of here. With this book, I don't know if I'll do like video reviews like I was doing with the my first two reads of the year. I did find online essay questions to kind of go along with. I think that it's from a course or maybe a high school course or something like that, where they have essay questions that go along with the reading that I plan on doing. Because I've been trying to get back into writing. I did my first Substack essay article a little bit ago. It was on Stevie Wonder, specifically his classic period. I'll figure out. I guess I could link this in this description of this video. But I did my first essay, Um, I rewrote and rewrote and rewrote that thing. I'm still not really like, it's not the best piece of writing, but really for me, I kind of was like realizing I haven't like sat down and wrote an essay or really like had to think and write something in detail like that since graduating college, and I graduated in 2019, so it's been some time. So really it was just kind of like showing myself that I still know how to do a draft or do multiple drafts of something, and it be a decent read. So I only shared it with my family so far. They liked it, but I feel like they always say that to me. But I was happy to have somebody else read it, and they caught grammar mistakes and stuff. And I used Grammarly, so I was super annoyed that what I ended up doing was publishing the incorrect draft, which I'm using Google Docs, and I have like multiple versions of that doc in saved there, and I just ended up uploading the wrong one. So once they caught that, I was able to re-upload, and it should be good now. But I think for the review of Sister Outsider, the essays that I'm reading there, I want to try to focus on writing with this one. Maybe eventually when I get through all three essays and I do the writing for those things, I will do a video just to kind of go over my written responses, or my thoughts on the readings. That'll probably be the plan. But to wrap up Bitterroot, that is our goal for this video. I read, or I reread, I don't know why that sounded crazy to me. I reread issue 5 maybe a couple days ago. Just off the top of my head, because I have to find where I wrote that. I was very pleased with the next movement. To me, it was just as good, if not better, than the original Bitterroot series. The storytelling was 10 out of 10. The artwork, obviously, like I mentioned before, that's what really drew me in, was amazing. Like, the design and everything. It's just, I really enjoy this series. I saw an update a little bit ago, and I don't know how recently this was, that Regina King will be working with Ryan Coogler on the film adaptation of Bitterroot, which I'm really excited about because I love Sinners. I remember when Sinners was announced, I was a little worried that Bitterroot and Sinners were going to be too similar, and I think while they have, or they share certain themes, I think these two stories are totally different. So I'm excited to see what Regina King will do with this, and then with the help of Ryan Coogler, I'm sure it'll be amazing. So I'm excited about that. But getting back into my review, we'll start with, I think I'll just do a recap of issue 5. This is kind of cheating, but I think because I was away from the reading for so long and I've already started reading my next thing, I'm kind of like, let's just put a bow on this. So for issue 5, I think this is kind of like our, I guess you could say, like Marvel Endgame. This is where the big battle happens. It's a very exciting read. Like I said, there's a lot going on. There's like 2 separate fights happening at once, and eventually the Sangreers, Dr. Sylvester, everyone ends up together, and they end up thankfully defeating this, whatever you want to call it, because as I've mentioned in the previous issues, the Genu have kind of evolved into something that the Sangreers, the government, the local police aren't maybe necessarily familiar with. You definitely cannot purify or cure whatever this version of the Genu is with the elixir that the Sangreers have been using for decades. Even with them tweaking it, it seems to be losing its effectiveness, which is a talking point of this issue. We see quite a few flashbacks throughout this series, but in this particular flashback, I think they flashback to like, I want to get the time period right, 64, so it might have been like the 40s or the 30s, but we see a flashback to the Sangreers kind of having a round table with Dr. Sylvester, and they're discussing this idea that the elixir that they have is no longer working, and how do they move forward with ridding the world of the Genu, this hatred that is effectively turning people into monsters. So Dr. Sylvester has been a strong proponent of what they refer to as amputating the Genu from the human host, and that essentially means killing them. Uh, Most of the Sangrees are like totally against that. They're like no. They know that the Genu is a manifestation of hatred, and that there is still a human being somewhere inside of that monster, and they're still pushing for and fighting for what they call purifying, or using the elixir to cure the human of the Genu disease. So just throughout the series, we kind of see them, having this discussion of what do we do. In that flashback, they don't come to a resolution. They don't agree on one way or another. What we do see is that they agree that either way, they cannot kill them all. They cannot purify them all. So while they don't necessarily have an answer for what do they do for their fight in this, battle with the Genu, what they agree on is that whatever it is, they do it together. And that's been like the overarching theme of the Bitterroot series is family, that they're connected. We hear them say, actually, what issue is that in? I think that might have been in issue 4. I don't remember if it was Mariah or not, but I don't think it was Mariah, because this was a part of the flashback. But one of the older Sangrees family members says, "But I want you all to understand that while we may not always agree on things, we always support each other, fight with and for each other." And like I said, that's been like a theme throughout the story of that togetherness, that cohesiveness of this family. We see them literally argue with each other in the midst of battle, but they're still fighting like side by side. And that's something that I definitely enjoyed throughout the series. So yeah, they have those flashbacks. The issue 5 actually starts with post battle. I think it's 3 days after the big battle that happens in that really small town in Mississippi, where the Freedom Riders were first discovered to have been killed or missing. Which they do eventually find I think it's like 3 surviving members. But we start off this issue with Mariah, Aunt Blink, York, and Agent Steele meeting with the President of the United States to discuss what he's calling like a tragedy. I guess it is a tragedy that's happened in this small town in Mississippi. His issue seems to be more with that they did end up killing a lot of the Genu, but honestly, the way that battle was going, they did not have any other option. I felt like, and they're kind of pleading their case and kind of making their case of why that needed to happen. The president is kind of stuck on like, this is basically a shit show now. Like, this is obviously national news. A whole town was pretty much destroyed in this battle. And a lot of people were killed, unfortunately. And what Mariah and Bleak are trying to get across to him is like, yeah, people died and there were casualties, but imagine had we not killed who we killed, imagine the number of casualties, if they didn't make that decision. And not that it was an easy decision to make, but it was one that was necessary. But then as you can see, like throughout this series, they're getting like pushback, major pushback from the government. So the president is even like wrapping up the meeting that he's having with them. And even, I guess I shouldn't say it's to my surprise, because Agent Steele was shot by the sheriff. I'm jumping around a little bit. I think I mentioned, or maybe I didn't, in issue 4, Agent Steele, York, and Dr. Sylvester are basically ambushed by the sheriffs of the local town in Mississippi. Agent Steele is shot by the sheriff, and then they end up being attacked by Genu there. And it was really surprising because the Genu who usually just attack the black people end up killing the sheriff in this battle. So I think York even asked Dr. Sylvester, like, is this something you've ever seen before? And even he's shocked. That's how they know, like, the Genu are evolving into something beyond what they've seen or even fought before. So the ongoing battle with them is going to have to be different. Like, they're not going to be able to do what they have done for decades prior. So that big battle was taking place. On the kind of opposite spectrum, Mariah and the rest of the critical response team are still with the Reverend, who they met up with in issue 4, ally of the Sangrees. It seems like he's fought with them or alongside them in the past. This is where the mention of, and it's referred to as the Garden of Evil, and the book is called the Psyche Mall Jaden, and that means the Garden of Evil. They mention this in the flashback as well that they have in like the 30s or 40s, but this is the idea that because the hatred is so prominent in whatever that environment is, it literally seeps into the ground and just rots the whole city and town. And essentially they're saying that's what happened in this small town in Mississippi. And I think Mariah brings it up, and some of the sangeriers was like, yeah, we heard of that, but that was kind of like fairy tale, like mythical. It's not something we've actually seen before. And now they could say during this battle, like, this may be something that's real. So they discussed that in the flashback, and currently as they're fighting this monster now. For Mariah and the rest of the critical response team and the Reverend, the evil literally pops out of the ground and attacks them. That's what makes them reference that Garden of Evil, which they recall back to that hearing stories of it pretty much. They have this really big battle. It seems honestly like they're outnumbered. They're having a hard time. Luckily, they get help from Blink and the rest of the Sangeriers that are back in Harlem. They show up literally in the nick of time and help pretty much save the day. Had they not shown up, it just would have been bad. Dr. Sylvester, York, and Agent Steel end up making it that way too. Like, that's why I call it Marvel Endgame, because it was like all the Avengers kind of descending on this one area to like defeat this thing. Like I mentioned before, in the beginning of the issue, we learned that they did end up having to kill a lot of the Genu, unfortunately. I don't even know if you should say unfortunately, but they do end up killing quite a few of them. But that's literally the only way that they can save themselves and the rest of like the innocent people in this town. And maybe innocent isn't the descriptive word I should use. The citizens of this town. Very action packed. The storytelling was great. Something that was very interesting, and I guess it's like the setup for the next book. In the end, we see two gentlemen. One, I'm presuming, is the president speaking to a man named Billy, I believe. And he's pretty much saying to him, like, yes, we know the Genu are real. Get this under control. And what I think is kind of what was irritating to me is he knows what these monsters are. He knows like their origin, where they come from. He's automatically like, this is the fault of civil rights and desegregation. Like, he immediately blames it on that. He's like, if they weren't trying to push equality, this wouldn't have happened, which is mind-boggling to me. But I think that really speaks to our current government and our current political climate. It is very much like gaslighting. So the man who I assume is the president, because in the start of the issue, we know that Mariah, Blink, Agent York, and Steel are speaking to the president because that's how they addressed him, but we don't actually see like a clear picture of his face in the illustrations. And maybe I'll insert some of the clips or some of the pictures here so you can kind of get an idea, and then I'll show the end of the story where we leave off, where it's kind of a cliffhanger, where who I assume is the president is speaking to Billy and is pretty much telling him like, one, you need to make this go away, and two, you need to make it seem like it was the black people of that town and then the Sangeriers kind of causing trouble is the reason why all of this is happening in the civil rights movement, which I was like, that's insane. But it also kind of tied in or answered a lot of the questions I was having at the beginning of the series, is with this the next movement being set in 1964, the height of the civil rights movement. How does that look like? How does that move the story along? And we can see clearly that's, we start off with a group of freedom riders being attacked and some being missing. Like, so the civil rights is very prominent throughout the issues. And I like how they take like historical events and they don't shy away from it in the writing. But I think that's like the point of Bitterroot, is what they're speaking to. So I really enjoyed that. This series was really, really good. I did actually finish it in a timely manner. I just haven't had the chance to complete my review or my recap, which I'm doing now, and I'm glad. I'm very excited for the next books. I'm very excited for the movies. Hopefully, we get some more announcements about what to expect or a trailer or something soon. That would be awesome. I'm excited to see where the story goes and how far in the future they jump in the next series, or they do they do a flashback series? Like, is that the next series where we get more information? Because the jump between the original series is like 1920s. They jump all the way to 1964. So obviously a lot has happened. You know, that's a 40 plus year difference. What were, I mean, obviously we know what the Sangreas were doing in all that time, but what were some of the battles that they faced during that time? Obviously, a lot of the people that we were introduced to in the original series die in between the first and the second series. So, what does that look like? How does that happen? So I'm very excited to see this series continue. I'm excited to see what they have next or what's in store. I'm really excited to. I hate cliffhangers and I love them at the same time. It's like it's very exciting getting up to the last page, and then I realize this is the last issue in this series, so I'm gonna have to wait a while until I figure out, you know, what's next for this family, and how do they, and do they even find a way to purify or continue to help these people that have, you know, become consumed with hate, that they're like unrecognizable, that they're literally monsters, or do they kill them, or do they listen to Dr. Sylvester and try to kill them all? Which you know, I don't see how either one of those, like they said at the flashback in issue 5, like there's no way for us to kill or cure them all, so what do we do? But yeah, that this was a really good read for me. I do see myself probably at some point in the future rereading the series all together at once, kind of just straight through. I think that'll be good. But I think this was a good exercise for me, like getting used to speaking in front of the camera, me reading and taking notes along the way. I'm excited to see how I do this with Sisters Outsider. This is my first, not my first nonfiction, because the first book I read this year, Ladies in Hip Hop, was obviously nonfictional text, nonfiction. But it was kind of more like, I would say more entertainment than anything. Not that Audre Lorde can't be entertaining, but I've read The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House. So I wouldn't call that like, I wouldn't compare that to reading about like the foundational ladies of hip hop. But I'm excited to read. I'm excited to, it feels like I'm in school again, like especially with me finding the essay prompts to answer along with the reading. So I'm excited to get started again. I've been working on my attention span, not spending so much time doom scrolling. I've been finding little things to do in between time and of me finally finishing this review and my initial one for Bitterroot. I've been learning coding, so I've been doing JavaScript, C++, HTML. I'm working on I guess, a blog or like a digital journal of sorts. And I have some stuff up already. I'm really excited about that. So maybe I'll link that too in this video. But that is going to wrap up Bitterroot. I kind of only discussed issue 5. This is not how I planned on recapping this series, but I am a little behind in what I have planned for the year. I'm definitely pacing myself. I don't want to try to do too much, but I have already started reading Sisters Outsider, so I kind of want to, before Bitterroot leaves my mind, I want to make sure I put a bow on this. The series is really good. Like I said, I'm excited for the next series. I'm excited for the movies. But that's going to wrap up Bitterroot for me. That is my second read of the year. I am now on my third, which will be Sisters Outsider. Maybe I'll do a video for each one, or I might just, once I finish reading each essay and I finish my writings that accompany those essays, I'll probably just do like another recap of sorts of those 3 things. So I will check in. Hopefully it won't be a whole another month before I do, but if I do, I'll see you then.